Hello, my name is Andrew Fruin, and I'm a technical research lead at Semios, and I'm here to talk to you today about managing navel orangeworm and provide you with an introduction to nutmeal lures. First up, what we'll be covering today. I'm going to provide you with a brief history of monitoring navel orangeworm. I'm going to discuss why we have decided to use nutmeal lures. I will provide some examples of nutmeal lure data. And finally, I'll discuss how to prepare for the upcoming navel orangeworm season. So first, a brief history of monitoring navel orangeworm. One of the first navel orangeworm monitoring tools was the egg trap. These traps were first used in the late 1970s. These traps are filled with a food bait and provide a substrate for navel orangeworm females to oviposit on. Although still used today, these traps have to be checked and cleaned frequently in order to be effective. Since the introduction of the egg trap, a number of different pheromones have been identified and tested as navel orangeworm lures. One of these is PPO. PPO was first described as a female attractant in the 1970s, but is now known to attract both male and females navel orangeworm. But it wasn't until 2015 that a sex pheromone-based lure for navel orangeworm was commercialized. And since then, sex pheromone lures have become the industry standard for monitoring navel orangeworm. So you may be asking yourself, why use nutmeal lures? To understand that, let's talk about some of the challenges using pheromone lures to monitor navel orangeworm. First, and perhaps the most important, is that these lures catch only male moths, and importantly are heavily impacted by mating disruption in a phenomenon known as trap shutdown. In turn, these lures track male mating behavior, which doesn't entirely correlate with crop risk. And again, this behavior is strongly influenced by mating disruption, which ultimately makes interpreting data from these sex pheromone lures difficult. Finally, there are some logistical challenges using pheromone lures, as traps baited with new sex pheromone lures are prone to saturation in both the spring and during harvest activities such as shaking, and a phenomenon often referred to as lure spiking. So, what would define an ideal navel orangeworm lure? An ideal navel orangeworm lure is something that is semiochemical based, that attracts predominantly females, and that is unaffected by mating disruption. Tracking females is important because female behavior is related to egg-laying risk. And importantly, female behavior is not affected by mating disruption, and a lure that would track females, therefore, would also not be affected by mating disruption. In terms of implementation and use, we'd like to have a lure that doesn't saturate as quickly and is not subjected to lure spiking. We believe that the nutmeal lure meets all of these requirements. So now I want to share some examples of nutmeal lure data so you know what to expect this year. First of all, your traps will not be shut down. Expect to see trap captures throughout the season. In terms of your trap captures, what's also new is it will be normal to observe eggs on your trap liners. Nutmeal lures are expected to capture gravid females. Gravid females are not necessarily mated, as sexually mature navel orangeworm females are capable of laying eggs regardless of mating status. Furthermore, it's important to recognize that at a population level, mating disruption delays mating, and under high pest pressure, some mating is expected to occur, and therefore some fertile eggs are expected to be laid on trap liners. However, it is important to remember that nutmeal lures attract females, and therefore trap capture is not indicative of mating disruption performance. So now I want to share some season-long navel orangeworm trap capture data using pheromone lures and nutmeal lures. This data was collected in 2022 from a field that could be described as having low to moderate navel orangeworm pest pressure. On the top in the blue, you can see the pheromone lures are shut down for the majority of the season. Whereas on the bottom in the green, you can see 4 periods of navel orangeworm flight activity are clearly visible. The important part here is that these 4 periods of trap activity align well with the expected seasonal trap capture and seasonal phenology of navel orangeworm, and therefore the Nutmeal lure is a superior data source to inform management when compared to pheromone lure. So next, how to prepare for the navel orangeworm season. So there's 2 things we'd like you to do. The first is to enter your full bloom dates on the Semios platform, and the second is to gain an understanding of the distribution of mummy nuts in your orchard. So first, how to enter your full bloom dates. Once you've logged onto the Semios platform, look for crop development and click on hull split. After that, find your farm and click on edit configuration. This will open a menu that will allow you to enter your full bloom dates for all of your varieties. Click on the variety and enter your full bloom dates using the drop-down menu. Keep in mind that the full bloom date is defined as the date with the highest proportion of open flowers. Accurate full bloom dates are important and used to generate variety-specific hull split forecasts. And these full hull split forecasts can help you plan and time applications of hull split related insecticide inputs. The second thing we would like you to do is to assess the number of mummy nuts in your orchard. Understanding the distribution of mummy nuts in your orchards will help contextualize patterns of navel orangeworm trap captures and can aid in your pest management decisions. Keep in mind that both the overwintering and first generation navel orangeworm rely exclusively on mummy nuts to survive. Therefore, more mummy nuts means more navel orangeworm risk. Also keep in mind that navel orangeworms survive better on mummy nuts in the trees than they do on mummy nuts in the ground, particularly in wet years. Finally, in almonds, the recommended thresholds of mummy nuts per tree range from 0.2 to 2 mummy nuts per tree. How do your blocks compare to these thresholds? So what's next? Over the course of the season, we intend to share regional navel orangeworm data related to both trap activity and degree day progression. We also plan to discuss the implications of trap capture patterns using both specific farm level and regional examples. Thank you for your time today. Please leave a comment below if you have any questions, and subscribe to our YouTube channel to receive notifications on when our next video is released.